like Donald Trump or you don't like Donald Trump, this conduct is inexcusable, in my opinion, for somebody who wants to be president of the United States.
If this indictment is true, if what it says is actually the case, President Trump was incredibly reckless with our national security.
Welcome back to America Decides. While the majority of Republicans continue to defend Donald Trump, several 2024 competitors have shown new openness to at least criticize him a bit. Maura Gillespie and Joel Payne join us now. Maura is the founder of Blue Stack Strategies and previously served as an advisor to former Republican House Speaker John Boehner and former Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Joel, a Democratic strategist, as well as a CBS News political contributor and the chief communications officer for Move On. Great to have you both here. I want to start with something that former House Speaker Paul Ryan said earlier today on CBS Mornings, because this reporter at least believes that's kind of where all of this is headed. Let's just take a listen to what he said.
I've been a never again Trumper for some time now. Yeah. So no, I'm not a Trump fan. I want to win, and if we nominate Trump, we're going to lose. He hasn't won anything since 2016. Mm-hmm. We lost the House in 18. We lost the presidency in 20. We've lost the Senate. We would have won the Senate this time in 22 had it not been for Trump and his nominees in some of our key primary elections.
Is he wrong, Maura?
No. I mean, that's really the problem here, is that the Republican Party cannot afford another 2020 Trump, let alone what he's done in the previous or past elections. So if we want to win, which I would assume Republicans want to win, they need to pick somebody else. Yeah.
I mean, it is notable that despite all that, he continues to enjoy sustained support. I think the one notable shift this week probably came from Nikki Haley, who on Monday at least signaled that she has real concerns now with the substance of the accusations against him, calling out concerns about national security, the fact that her husband's deploying as part of the South Carolina National Guard to Africa for about a year or for several months shortly. Is she seeing something now that the others may pick up on, or is she perhaps just trying to create a new lane for herself, given that, you know, there's a chance to score headlines this week if you express criticism for him as a Republican?
I think something people did, which I would say was maybe not the best approach, was immediately after Trump announced on Truth Social that this was happening, people put out statements for and against without having read the details of the indictment. Take a beat, take a minute. Honestly, what Vice President Pence did was saying, let's read the details of this indictment so we know exactly what he's being charged with. So if they had just taken a minute to wait to respond and set out statements, she could have gone out with this approach and and she is on her own lane right now, but I think more will follow. I just wish that people had waited to chime in until they had the details. Yeah.
And Joel, White House on Tuesday, at least, the president had meetings with the Secretary General of NATO. They popped a surprise meeting, apparently, with the president of Uruguay. He was hosting a Juneteenth concert. They're trying to keep him almost completely out of the news, sort of in a push to sort of have the American public almost forget that he exists until next year when he faces whoever the Republican is. I mean, this keep the head down, ignore it as much as possible strategy. Do you think it's working, or does he need to say more?
I do. I think it's working. One, I think it is true to what Joe Biden's promises to the American people, that he's going to support an independent judiciary. But also, I think it's a part of his political superpower to kind of be above it all, to be able, as I like to say, Joe Biden, he can have a conversation with any American. He could be welcome at any dinner table. They might not agree with him, but he's welcome there, and that's a superpower. But to me, Ed, the big question here is, does political gravity still apply? Okay. Does political gravity apply to Donald Trump, to the Republican 2024 primary field? Typically, a candidate with this much baggage is eventually, particularly peaking this early, is not going to be able to last throughout the entire primary campaign without having somebody else chase them. Does political gravity still apply? And I think that's what we're all kind of trying to figure out. And even me, as someone who's not a Republican, just a political observer, I'm trying to figure out, does political gravity still apply? Because also, Donald Trump has been in front of the American people a lot, not just as an indicted former president, but just as a political candidate. Right. There's a fatigue that comes with that.
Maura, we have seen sustained support for Trump among congressional leadership, most especially in the House. There's some in the Senate, but much less so. In fact, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, again, refusing on Tuesday to discuss this at all. What could potentially tip the scales against the former president there with his congressional supporters.
Right, and you're seeing a lot of senators who are openly endorsing other candidates and that are not Donald Trump. So my hope is that it does inspire some congressional Republicans to chime in and say, you know what, we don't want to keep losing. And that's the narrative that Paul Ryan mentioned, but I know that Ron DeSantis has mentioned. Trump is losing, and we are losing because of Trump. So hopefully that they see that narrative and realize it could impact their congressional races and to get behind a different candidate that could actually win. So that'll be an important part of looking ahead to 2024 and beyond.
Does complacency set in with Democrats as this continues to play out?
I'm not sure if complacency sets in. I think Democrats feel good about what they're going to go to the American people with. And I know I'm not here to talk about Republicans, but I did talk to a Republican on one of the 2024 campaigns, and they said they're in a kind of wait and see approach. And I do think that while I appreciate that, and I understand it as someone who's worked on 2 presidential campaigns myself, what are you waiting for? Like, now's the time to go for the jugular for Trump. He's weakened now. And that would be my advice to someone who's worked on a couple of these campaigns. You got to go for the jugular. You can't be reactive when it comes to Donald Trump. You got to be proactive.
It might be what Nikki Haley's up to. We'll see if it reflects it all in the numbers at all in the coming days. Thank you both for being here, Maura Gillespie and Joel Payne. We appreciate it.